Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Josh Thomas here, and I am joined by the one and only Senor Rogersbase.
Senor, so hard-boiled. Whoa!
Senor Rogersbase. And
like
he is
that.
here today with me to talk about our 15, that's right, 15 games that we really want to see on the Nintendo Switch. And why did we pick 15? Well, that's a really good question. It's because we are 15 days away from the Nintendo Switch launching on March 3rd, which is very exciting. Roger,
When
Are you
you
re-
hear our game list, you will say, wow.
well, let's get right into it. You are the guest of honor. I'm going to let you kick it off. I'm very excited to see what kind of insane, crazy ideas you've come up with here. Oh, to clarify the rules, it can be a first party, it can be third party, it can be an imaginary game that you just came up with. It is literally 15 games that will tickle your fancy to the point of orgasmic proportions. Roger?
I love that you said it could be just a game we just came up with. Like, not a franchise, just this random idea for a game. So that's definitely going to be my number 15. I'm saving that for last. But
Okay.
the first game is a game I am pretty sure nobody is going to put on their most wanted list for games on the Switch. Maybe you. Maybe except for you. I think you might be in agreement with me on this. I think Switch is the perfect time to bring back the Endless Ocean franchise.
Oh my god, I have that on here.
No way! Really?
Yeah, I've got Endless Ocean 3.
Yeah. So I am really kind of upset that we never got one on Wii U, considering Wii U was their first HD system. I thought, they could really take advantage of the hardware. It'd be a really beautiful game. And now with the Switch and like the HD Rumble, I just think it would be really cool to go scuba diving in an Endless Ocean game, and especially to play it on a nice big TV in 1080p. It would look beautiful. And I am hankering for a new Endless Ocean. I really want one, and I think now is the time to bring it back. So Endless Ocean 3 on the Switch. Make it happen, Nintendo.
Yeah, and so just to piggyback off of that a bit, since it's on my list, I'll go ahead and say it. I totally agree. I feel the same way. Like, it looks beautiful on the Wii, so I can only imagine how beautiful that game would look on the Switch. And not only that, we have better online capabilities now, so being able to play online and talk with each other while you're scuba diving and swimming under the water with the fishies would be incredible. Remember how they used to have, like, you could draw in the water? Do you remember that? Like,
Yeah.
you draw in the water with that was such a weird, cool way of, like, communicating and stuff. I'd say that would be a cool thing to bring back.
That was also one of the few games that had custom soundtracks on the Wii, where you could just put in whatever music you wanted. And I remember putting in, like, old Japanese anime soundtracks and just diving underwater looking at whales.
Can you guess the music that I put on my SD card?
Careless Whisper. I don't know.
It should be very easy. Think about it.
Disney?
We're under the water. We're under the water.
Oh, Little Mermaid. Okay.
Little Mermaid and Jaws.
Oh,
music.
of course.
And when you're like in the very dark depths of the ocean playing that game and you have the Jaws music, it's beyond terrifying. Man, that game, I'm picturing in my head, that game is actually really beautiful. Especially under the water, like in darkness, and they have like the flashlight. That's a great... yes, we need this on the Switch.
Yeah.
It's a very different type of game too, so I think it adds a real sense of variety to the library to have that kind of stuff. So,
Yep.
Totally. Well, since that was also my pick, do you want to go again? Or
Sure, yeah. So the second game is a third-party game, and one of the few third parties that I actually really want to see on the system. It's a third party that has already pledged its support for Nintendo, so this isn't too crazy. And I just think it'd be really cool now that we can like link up 8 different Switch systems together. I want to see a return of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. That is one of my favorite games on the GameCube. I actually really liked the adventure title that was on Wii as well, the Crystal Bearers, and I liked both of the WiiWare games, the My Life as a King and My Life as Dark Lord, and I liked the DS game that switched with the Wii game as well. I've liked all the Crystal Chronicles games. I think that is just an awesome sub-franchise of Final Fantasy, and I think there's a lot of cool potential there for local multiplayer and for co-op play, and now that they're going to have online, they'll have better online support, maybe playing co-op online. And actually, if you go back and play Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on GameCube, graphically that game really holds up. The art style they chose, which at the time a lot of people didn't really like, it sort of had this like Precious Moments look. And they all kind of look like porcelain dolls. It's very odd. But when you go back and you play it, it actually, like I said, really holds up. It looks really pretty to this day. Some of the cool particle effects they were using too, and like the effects for fire that would sort of distort the way the graphics looked. It was great. I want to see another Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and I want to see it on Switch.
All right. I've heard a lot of people, I've got like some friends that played that back in the day that talk really positively about it as like one of their favorite GameCube games. So yeah, I can see a lot of people being quite happy about that. I'm going to pick one that I think is not going to be on anyone's list. Most people probably don't even know about this game. But there was a game on the Wii, which was called Order Up, and it was a cooking game that had this really fun, it was like really fun because it was, it's sort of like a time management game as well, to where you had to keep up with all the orders, and there was a lot of motion controls to make it. It's got a really cute, unique art style. It was funny. Like, it was the characters that would come in and order from you were funny. There was a bunch of different themed restaurants, like you're making Italian food or Mexican food or French food or like a burger joint. And so it just had such a great personality, and it was funny, and it had a really cool art style, and the gameplay was very satisfying, making all the food and chopping the onions and stuff and then putting it on. But it was like really fun because there was, like I said, there was like this sense of like trying to do it really well without burning it, and it was kind of like a good version of Cooking Mama. And I know that's a really random thing to point out, really random game to want to come to the Switch. No chance of it probably ever happening. But it's just one of those Wii games that I think was so underrated, and it was really well done. So I'd love to see a sequel to that game. I feel like I want variety, and I like, Endless Ocean is a good example of that.
Yeah.
I think a cooking type game is a good example of that. And it wasn't like a super casual, boring, like Cooking Mama version of a cooking game. It was like more in depth and fun than that.
And not to spoil you guys for the later part of this discussion, but me and Josh both kind of were in agreement that, like, of course there are games that we're going to be talking about later, like Animal Crossing and Metroid and Smash and Pikmin and stuff. But we tried to pick games that no one else was going to bring up, really, that we genuinely really, really want, and that would like sort of make the library diverse, because we already know most of those, like, the mainline franchises we're probably going to get on the Switch, especially considering it's like both the handheld and the console. So, we were trying to choose like unique things. I think Order Up is a great example. I think that game also came to 3DS, if I remember correctly.
You know what? I think it did. You're right. So you know what game I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was
I
fun
thought this whole time you had no idea what I was talking about.
No. I know totally what you're talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it'd be a real, and you know what? Nowadays it's great because they could do that as like an eShop game, even like a downloadable thing, if they didn't have the budget to make that a retail title.
I think even when it was a retail title, wasn't it like $14 or something? I remember that game being really cheap in stores.
Yeah, it was. I think it was like $30, and it came with a paper hat like you would find in a fast food restaurant.
Man, you know what I want? I actually want a game that's like Order Up. This isn't on my list. This isn't going to count as one of my games. But when you brought that up, I really want to see the Snipper Clips developers, just because of the art style they use, I want to see them make a cooking type game after Snipper Clips.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would it be called? Choppy Boil.
Choppy Boil, sure. All right,
I'm trying to think of things you do to food.
Choppy Boil. Oh, okay. All
Choppy
right.
Fry.
Oh, is it my turn?
It's your turn. I just picked Order Up, yeah.
That's right. All right. So this is something that may be controversial. I know some people claim this game is like...
At the BitBlock? You're going to be controversial at the BitBlock? I don't know if
some
this is
people
the right
claim
audience.
This game is like the second coming and one of the best games Nintendo has ever made. Some people absolutely hate it. They think the controls are terrible. And it's funny because I see people who hate the controls in this, but love the controls in Star Fox Zero. And to those people, I say, you're wrong. And you're a terrible human being. And I hope Trump deports you. So, with that being said, I need to see a sequel to Kid Icarus Uprising. I love everything about that game, from the music to the graphics to the story to the quirky dialogue. It felt like when I played Kid Icarus Uprising, I had the same feeling that I had when I played Star Fox 64 for the first time. The dialogue is like really naturally funny. It doesn't feel like it's trying too hard, and it's not like relying on your nostalgia to actually get the laughs. I think it is fantastic. I would love to see a sequel to Kid Icarus Uprising, and a sequel to Kid Icarus Uprising, or an HD port, whatever you want to call it, some type of Kid Icarus Uprising type game on the Switch, I think would work really well, considering now we have the IR controls and you don't have to play with that weird control scheme that you had originally on the 3DS. You could actually play with the two Joy-Cons. It would have HD rumble. I think there's a lot of neat things they could do, and actually I think Sakurai, I really don't think wants to make another Smash game for a while, so I feel like this might be a fun side project for him.
Yeah, you're right in the sense that, like, I felt like the controls were sort of okay, but I did think that, like, using a Wii Remote and Nunchuck would have been a more preferable method, especially for, like, flying, really.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy... That game came out in a really weird time. I had just moved to Florida, and I just started working at Disney as the guy who wears green tights. And so it was like this thing where it was like, I think I hated on the game more than I should have because I was just so busy being sociable and not caring about video games.
Right.
I've played it again Like, I played it again about like a few months ago, and I do think it's much better than I originally thought. And like I said, it was probably just because of my lifestyle at the time.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. It feels like a theme park ride when you're in the air and it's like bringing you through all these things and you're shooting. It really does give you that sense of like a simulator ride or something like that. So it's pretty, and it's the type of game that I think would benefit from the power of the Switch. Prettier environments and really give you that, sense of excitement. And so, yeah, I think that it would be pretty strange if they just let the Kid Icarus series be dead now. I mean, they brought it back and then they just don't do anything else with it. And I think it sold relatively well.
It did. And actually, it had a really good online multiplayer function as well. Like, the online multiplayer
never got to play that yet.
Was awesome in Kid Icarus Uprising. And that's something that could really benefit from, like, online multiplayer on a console. So, yeah, I mean, there's no reason. I actually think they'll probably do this. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this at E3, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I don't think they're going to let Kid Icarus just die again. That game did well, and I think people want another one. And I think we're going to get one, so there you go.
See, that's the strange thing with Sakurai developed games, because he's so always involved with the Smash Brothers series that it doesn't give him a lot of chance to do other types of games all that often. So I really do feel like I hope that Smash 4 is just ported to the Switch and they combine the content and Sakurai's able to do stuff like a new Kid Icarus game or a new Kirby Air Ride or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I agree.
Cool.
Okay, next up, I'm going to go with... I've got a lot to pick from here. I guess I'll just keep going in order. So you love the Advance Wars games.
I love the Advance Wars games.
But I really love the Battalion Wars games. Have you ever played any of those?
I have, and I think every Advance Wars game is better than
Oh my god, we can have a nice argument here. Well, I'm going to say I want a new Battalion Wars game. I think that they are like Nintendo's version of a war game, and it's like charming and cute, but at the same time there's a lot of strategy and there's excitement and there's just so much variety to the type of stuff you can do. Like, there's flame soldiers, there's rifle soldiers, there's, all sorts of, and you can get in the vehicles. This is where we can have a fun little argument. I think it is in every way superior to the Advance Wars games. It's actually like making you feel like it's fun and you're down there and it's in 3D. Advance Wars games just bored the hell out of me.
See, that, I guess maybe, because you don't like Fire Emblem either.
That's probably it.
That's it. Yeah, because if you like Fire Emblem, you will love Advance Wars. And if you don't like Fire Emblem, you will prefer Battalion Wars. I like that top-down strategic stuff. Like, Battalion Wars is, for those who don't know, is a third-person shooter. Like, you are on the ground. And even though it uses, like, the real-time tactics, it is a third-person shooter. So it's
more action-oriented.
What'd you say?
It's more action-oriented
yeah, exactly.
than Advance Wars.
And I like Advance Wars as a series. I think there's a lot of cool stuff they could do there now that, like, Fire Emblem's really taken off. I could see them sort of implementing some of the things that made Fire Emblem successful in recent years, like the really good character designs and the great music, and like I said, maybe adding a waifu support system or something like that would be kind of cool. I'm just going to piggyback off of that, and I'm going to say my fourth most wanted game is an Advance Wars.
Okay, that was on your list?
Yeah, it was on my list, and it was later on down, but I figured I'll just like talk about it now. Yeah, I love that series. Actually, on the plane ride back from Dallas, I was just at our buddy Matthew's wedding, and I was flying back to LA, and I played Advance Wars Days of Ruin, which, in my opinion, is the best game in the franchise. A lot of people will argue that. I think it's really good. And yeah, it made me want another Advance Wars really, really badly. But I will say that if we don't get one and we get a new Battalion Wars, that's okay too. But I want to see the return of the Wars franchise from Nintendo.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that. Like, either way, I think that Nintendo, it's again, I think one of the like trends amongst my picks and maybe even yours is that I really want variety.
Yeah.
I love Nintendo not just doing the same type of things, and they've got so many great IPs that are kind of niche C+ IPs that they have that they could really bring forward with the Switch and make them bigger and better than before. And I think Battalion Wars, Endless Ocean are examples of that. You know, like, or just Advance Wars, like the Wars series, like you said.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see that. My turn or your turn?
Your turn. It's your turn, because I said Advance Wars, yeah.
So I am not really hugely into first-person shooters. They're not really necessarily my thing. I think I liked them a lot more back in the like N64 days before the Xbox was a thing and came around and made all first-person shooters these overly dark, macho, realistic games. Which is not necessarily the case so much nowadays. It seems like that trend is definitely being changed with things like Overwatch and whatnot. Even though is Overwatch a first-person shooter?
It is, but it's very cartoony.
Kind of in a way.
Yeah.
Right, but that's what I mean. So those are the kind of first-person shooters I like. But I will say, I love GoldenEye 007 on the Wii. I think that game is great.
Yes.
I think they had such a huge task, too, I think. Like, we're making a new, like, GoldenEye game. So that's a hard thing to do because people love the original so much. But I think they pulled it off really, really well. And that's one of those games that when friends come over, like about every week or so, we play that. That's a go-to game for us with the multiplayer. So I really, really want to see a new James Bond game that is just really good, great single-player campaign, great multiplayer. I'd love to see that on the Switch. I think the Switch would be a great platform for it. But yeah, my love for GoldenEye 007 on Wii is just still very strong, and I want a sequel. Because you can't play it online anymore, unfortunately, because the servers are closed. And I just had tons of fun playing that online, and now we play it locally. But a new James Bond game, yes, please.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that even, too, because that was the go-to multiplayer game for my apartment in college, too. Me and all my roommates, literally every day after class, we'd come back home, we'd play GoldenEye 007 on the Wii, specifically the Wii version. We would play online, or we would just, like, play locally, and it was just a blast. Playing with Odd Job and throwing the hats, just like it's... And I just have this great memory of one of my roommates, Ryan. Like, we would all have our own little characters that we'd use, and his main character, his go-to character was Rosa Klebb. And so every time he'd win, or every time someone would shoot him, he'd just be like, "That damn Rosa Klebb!"
That's hilarious that you say that because we do a hillbilly accent for Scab Briggs.
Oh man,
Scab Briggs, and I'm always Scab Briggs.
Yeah, boy. So yeah, I love that pick. That's a great pick.
Let's get a new James Bond game.
Yes.
And that was, by the way, that was successful on the Wii. I want to point that out. Like, that sold quite well.
Yeah.
And then they did weird stuff afterwards.
Actually, I would not be surprised even if we got like a port of the GoldenEye 007 that was made for PS3. Like when they ported that game to PS3 and Xbox a couple years ago, I wouldn't be surprised to see a port of that with new features on the Switch within the first year. Because Activision has always been really close with Nintendo. And I think if the Switch does well, to sort of like build upon that, they will bring back GoldenEye because they still have the rights to it. There's no reason they can't just like re-release GoldenEye again. So,
yeah, I mean, like you said, I'd be fine with it even being a port as long as I got the online back and they polished up everything and maybe added a couple things. That'd be great because I just want to be able to play it online again.
Yep. Is it my choice?
Turn.
Okay. This is one franchise I really, really liked both on the Wii and on DS. And the more I think about HD Rumble, the more it excites me. And I think this franchise could really take advantage of the HD Rumble in some unique ways. And that is Trauma Center. I want to see a new Trauma Center game on the Switch with the HD Rumble controllers where you're sort of like maneuvering to perform surgery on people. And that game was made even better in recent years because the game became 10 times more anime. All the characters became very anime. The soundtrack is like something out of a J-drama. It's just right up my alley. And that's, again, from a third party that is very close with Nintendo and I think makes the right type of games for Nintendo. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to see more Western-developed third-party games. I don't really care. I want to see more Japanese
sell like
companies.
Garbage, so they're not going to...
Except for GoldenEye. Hey, Activision, if you're listening, put GoldenEye.
That's true. So maybe I'm a little hypocritical that I just said GoldenEye and then I said that.
But I do think on the whole, I like Japanese third-party games more. And Atlas is already totally behind the Switch because they're making the new Shin Megami Tensei, and they made Sharp FE on the Wii U. So I think a Trauma Center wouldn't be too much of a leap.
I think you like Japanese waifu girls on the whole too.
I think I do.
No, I agree with that. I remember I played Trauma Center on the Wii. I think it was one of the like launch window games or somewhere around there, and it's really cool. Again, variety. Like a game about operations and there's drama and all that. It's really cool. It's a cool game.
Yeah.
Do they still make any of those, or is that pretty much not been around for a while? I mean, the developer's still around.
So actually, this is funny. Recently, there was a leak of a TV pilot based on the franchise. Whoa. Yeah, and you can watch it. It's like an official pilot that was developed for TV called Trauma Team, based on the franchise, and it didn't become a real thing. But you can actually watch the pilot on YouTube. Animated or live action? Live action.
Oh wow.
Really weird. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I agree. I don't think there's been a single pick. I'm getting excited about this already.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had one pick that I haven't been interested in. Okay, this one's maybe a little bit more basic, but I'm going to put it out there because I absolutely love this franchise. Mario sports games have kind of been in the dumpster lately. The last one that was good was Mario Golf on the 3DS. That was really well done. But other than that, we've had like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, which was really bad. The Mario Superstar Sports thing that's coming to 3DS. I have it on very good authority with multiple people that it's pretty bad as well, by the way. So I really want them to get back to caring a lot about Mario sports games. Anyways, long story short, Mario Baseball, it is my personal favorite sports game. I think there's two kings of the Mario sports titles. It's Striker and Baseball. And for me personally, I just think the baseball game has a little bit more strategy, has more of the Mario flavor and personality that I want. Mario Baseball on the Wii has more playable Mario characters than any Mario title ever. And there's just a lot of strategy they added, and it looks great. And just there's something about taking the Mario characters, putting them into a baseball setting, giving us those wacky stadiums and the wacky power-ups and the items, and being able to play as characters we never would be able to play as, because that's the kind of thing you need in a baseball game, because you need to have like a big amount of team like members. So like you could play as Wiggler, for God's sakes, King K. Rool, a Paragoomba. And it's just, yeah, I love Mario Baseball. I want to see it make a return. It's developed by the team that also helped with Smash Brothers. So after they're done making that Smash port for the Switch, I would really appreciate them getting to work on some Mario Baseball for the Switch.
Cool. Good choice.
Have you ever played any of the Mario Baseball games or no?
Yeah, I like them, but I also could go without any other Mario sports games for the rest of my life. I'm fine.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're not really big on Mario sports
No,
games?
I really liked Mario Tennis when it first came out on N64. And then ever since then, I think they've gotten progressively worse. I didn't like the one that was on GameCube all that much. I didn't like the Wii port of it. I obviously did not like the one on 3DS or Wii U. Were just terrible games. Well, actually, the 3DS one wasn't terrible, but it
wasn't great.
The Wii U one was just unexcusable. It was horrendous. And yeah, I mean, the Mario Baseball games were great on GameCube as well. But that's another franchise where, like I said, I feel it's gotten progressively worse as the releases have come out. I didn't like the one on Wii as much as I like the one on GameCube.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I remember not liking it as much. I don't really have.
Because I feel like it gives you everything that the GameCube game gave you, but then tons more.
Yeah, the only Mario game that's a sports game that I'd be okay with really coming back. I mean, I'd be okay with all of them coming back. I don't care. Like, I have no vested interest.
Right.
But the one I'd probably want to see come back would be Mario Strikers. I think Mario Strikers has always been really fun. To this day, I still play multiplayer on the Wii one with friends. It's just a lot of fun. So, yeah.
That's not on your list.
No, that doesn't count as my. No, okay. I would not waste a slot on this list with a Mario sports game. I'm telling you that right now. Absolutely not.
I mean, for the record, I don't really care about sports myself, but I love when Mario's involved in sports. Sure. So, yeah, I just want to see a Mario baseball.
I would actually. This is also not on my list, but I would say if I want to see any sport come to Wii U, I would actually rather, instead of like a Mario game, I'd want like a new Tecmo Bowl or a new NBA Jam or something. So like an arcade
NBA
sports.
2K18.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, none of those are on my list. The next one on my list is also a surprise. You are never going to expect this in a million years. This is something that when I played the ball roll game during my playtime with 1-2 Switch on that Nintendo Minute episode, I was like, oh my god, they need to make a sequel to this game. It would be incredible. I want Kirby's Tilt and Tumble 2 on the Switch. I enjoyed Kirby Tilt and Tumble on the Game Boy Color when it was first released. And there was actually a Kirby's Tilt and Tumble sequel that was in development for GameCube that got canceled. I would love to see them bring that back. Kirby, I think, is one of those franchises that they can mold into pretty much whatever they want. And I'm kind of like Kirby'd out in terms of 2D side-scrolling Kirby games, but I love the Canvas Curse games. Even the Rainbow Curse, I really like Rainbow Curse. Kirby Air Ride is amazing. It's still to this day one of my favorite Kirby games. There's a lot of unique things they could do with Kirby, and I think Tilt and Tumble, the time is right. Bring that back. Even if it's like only an eShop game, I think a sequel to Kirby Tilt and Tumble using the HD Rumble where you could literally feel Kirby on the controller and you're tilting him around and you could see it on the screen would be great.
Describe how that game works. I've never played it. And
wow! You would love it! Oh! You've never played this game?
I can't even picture what it
okay,
does.
so the cartridge on the Game Boy Color had an accelerometer in it. And when you tilted,
like the thing they use for WarioWare.
Yes. So when you tilted down the Game Boy Color, Kirby would roll down, and then when you pulled it back, he would sort of like roll back. And then if you like gently kind of like flicked the Game Boy up a little bit, he'd do like a little jump. and then you would use the momentum of the rolls to sort of like leap over obstacles and collect stars and go through levels. The music was pretty catchy. I love that game. I have really good memories of that game. And
was it a 2D side scroller or like
no,
a 3D?
it was a top down like puzzle adventure. I don't even know what to call it. Like, it wouldn't be a puzzle adventure. It'd be like just a top-down adventure. Yeah.
Okay.
It was really fun, though. I know, like, you should absolutely search that game out. You would love it.
What was it on Game Boy Advance?
Game Boy Color.
Game Boy Color?
Game Boy Color. It was one of the last games on Game Boy Color, and it was released, like, I think right when Game Boy Advance actually came out. I think it was, like, 2001 that game came out. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely down with the whole idea of Kirby needing to do something new now. And so that could definitely... Yeah, I think I like the Kirby spin-off games more than the mainline ones, even though I do like the mainline ones.
Yeah, I like the mainline ones too. And actually, the last one, Planet Robobot, was great. But I think I'm good with 2D Kirby's for a while.
I'm good with 2D anything for a while.
Yeah, I agree. Well, except for one thing that's later on this list, but we'll talk about that.
Okay, well, actually, this is a perfect segue for my next pick. It's literally the next one in line, too. I don't even have to jump around. I said that I really want Nintendo to try something new with Kirby. I want to see what a 3D Kirby adventure game could be like. A totally 3D Kirby. Now, in Planet Robobot, there's an extra mode, which is a 3D Kirby thing, where you're like actually running around in a 3D platform area as Kirby. You suck up the enemies, you spit them out, you try to get combos and stuff. I just really want to see what Kirby would be like in the third dimension, and I feel like with those controls that they had in that extra little mode, it felt pretty good. And I understand that like the idea of Kirby in a third dimension walking around is something that's sort of like, how do you do that? But that's what makes me want it even more. The challenge of saying, how can we bring Kirby into the third dimension finally? So I would love to see that. I think the Switch is going to be home to the return, the rebirth of the 3D open world type games. And it doesn't even have to be open world. Maybe something like 3D World would work kind of cool with Kirby. But just Kirby in a new light is what I want.
Yeah.
And I think a 3D adventure could be a cool way of doing it.
Cool. Well, while we're on the topic of Kirby, my next game is also a Kirby game too.
A lot of Kirby.
There's a lot of Kirby, saving the day. Kirby, he's here to stay. And I want Kirby Air Ride 2, man. I really, really want Kirby Air Ride 2, or at the very least, an HD port of Kirby Air Ride or Kirby Air Ride on Virtual Console. I think City Trial Online is something I would completely lose myself in. I could see myself playing that for hours on end. I've spent so many hours playing local multiplayer City Trial that like I can't even imagine how much time I would sink into playing that mode online. I love everything about it. I love the original Kirby Air Ride. If they did a new game in that engine, I don't think they will. I think it'd be like an HD port or like probably, let's be real, like a Virtual Console port. But I'm fine with that. I want more Kirby Air Ride. That is one of 3 racing games on this list, so be prepared for that. But that's something I really want. Yeah, Kirby Air Ride. I just feel like we are in an age where I feel like we need more arcade racing games. We have Mario Kart, which is great, but I think we need some other ones too, and Kirby Air Ride's perfect for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, GoldenEye is one of those games me and friends play, and Kirby Air Ride is absolutely another one of those games. And what we play is the City Trial mode. It's just got this really cool sense of like you're kind of relaxed, but then you're also messing with each other. You're exploring, you're building up your craft, you're switching crafts and all this stuff. Events happen. It's just such a fun, unique thing that I totally agree. I was going to put that on my list, but I just went with the 3D Kirby Adventure anyways because I felt like you might talk about air rides. So.
Yeah, well, you were right, so you know me.
Yeah, I think, like you said, even if they like did an HD port of it and then just added online for them,
be fine.
I'd be cool with it. And then there's like the top-down racing mode, which is kind of cool too. It's got that neat little like diorama feel to it, where the whole screen is just the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I agree. I totally would want to see that. All right, moving on. My pick, right? You just did Kirby Air Ride.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to say, I know that so I know people would like to think that the Switch is going to be this hardcore gamers machine. It's for hard. But I think Nintendo needs to play both audiences. You can appeal to hardcore traditional style gamers and also still continue on with that casual audience. And we're kind of seeing Nintendo do that with 1-2 Switch. Mm-hmm. But way more impressive than 1-2 Switch would be Switch Sports Resort. I want a sequel to Wii Sports Resort. Bring us back to Woohoo Island. It's been totally remodeled. There have been new additions to the island. It looks gorgeous, and maybe we can even walk around it like an open world island, and we actually can just walk to the areas where we play the sports and stuff. Introduce new sports. Give us the more accurate motion controls with the Joy-Cons. Wii Sports Resort is one of my favorite games on the Wii. Probably one of my favorite games of all time if I'm talking about my top 20. So I just really want a sequel. It's like a tropical, fun, multiplayer sports game on that wonderful island with the Miis and stuff. I really want a sequel to that game.
Yeah, I actually really love Wii Sports Resort. And I remember a lot of people that E3, when they revealed it, were like, really, Nintendo, this is all you have? But that summer, that's literally all I played. I played Wii Sports Resort. I love everything about that game. I liked all the little mini games. I liked the sword fighting game. Dude, I'm totally down for another Wii Sports-esque game. With the Miis, especially on a tropical setting. I think a Switch Sports Resort would be my ideal Wii Sports successor. So yeah, good choice.
And the other thing is, Mr. Miyamoto back in the day was talking about how they developed Woohoo Island to feel like a character. Oh, this setting feels like a character. So I would love to see what Woohoo Island could look like with a modern graphics engine. Yeah. You know what I mean? Really see what that could be. So yeah, I need that.
Cool. Well, this next one is probably something that we will get eventually. I'm not too nervous that we're not going to get this game on Switch, but it's something that I do want to bring up because the game that I'm about to bring up is a sequel to a game that is not even released yet, and that is Lady Layton 2. So I am a huge fan of the Professor Layton franchise. Most people know this. That is a thing that sort of got me started in the game industry. I think you know the story, Josh, but to refresh your listeners, the reason I got my job at Nintendo right out of college was because I did a viral marketing campaign that was not associated with Nintendo for the Professor Layton games after my first E3 because I was angry that they weren't promoting the sequel to Professor Layton. And Kotaku picked up on it and they were like, wow, this social media account tweeting out riddles every day is amazing. Nintendo's doing such a good job. And then Nintendo had to come out and publicly state oh, that's not us, that's a fan. And so I love the Professor Layton games. That's basically the point of my story. And they've already announced that Lady Layton is Professor Layton's daughter is going to continue on the main franchise. It's coming out, I think, Q1 that'd be in 4 weeks, so it's probably not Q1, probably Q2 2017 in Japan for 3DS, and I think the eventual sequel to that game will almost definitely be on Switch. And I just really wanted to bring it up. I want to see the Professor Layton series continue on to the Switch, especially due to the fact that I think the HD Rumble is perfect for puzzles. I think solving puzzles and listening to things in the box and trying to figure out exactly how many marbles are in the box or trying to turn a special key or feeling something. And I just, there's a lot of neat stuff they could do with HD Rumble and puzzles that would really, I think, elevate the franchise and really just introduce some really cool new features to it. So Lady Layton 2, I want to see it on the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, puzzle-type games would be really cool with the HD Rumble and just the motion of that, so yeah. I totally agree. We've never seen a Professor Layton game on home console.
Yep.
So that's one of the coolest things about the Switch to me. The Mario and the Luigi series, we've never seen that on a home console, but if they make a new one,
which they will. Let's be real. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, so it's going to be, and Pokemon's another one. Yep. You don't generally see the mainline game on your TV. So I think that's one of the things that's just going to be so cool about the Switch. Just all these franchises we traditionally wouldn't be able to see on the go or on a TV, now you can.
Couldn't agree more.
I had no idea that they're doing a Professor Layton series that's not starring Professor Layton.
Well, so the story is his daughter. I think her name's Katie or Catriella or something. Anyway, she's searching for her dad, which is Professor Layton. And so it's just following her, and then I think her dog, which talks, which is just funny and weird. And I really want to see a new Professor Layton game on the Switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love those on the 3DS, so I totally would love to see that. I'd love to see him in Smash Brothers too, but that's a whole other discussion.
Please! Dude, Professor Layton and Bomberman are they need to happen eventually, please.
Well, Bomberman's a launch title for the Switch. That's adding some relevance
There you go. There you go.
Right. So this is another pick that I thought this was actually happening at one point, but it turned out it didn't. I want a sequel to The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures on the GameCube. So in other words, a new top-down maybe even 2D artwork Zelda title that has multiplayer as a focus of the gameplay. I thought that was going to be the case with Triforce Heroes. Triforce Heroes ended up being much more minimal and disappointing than I had anticipated.
Triforce Heroes was the biggest disappointment I think I've gotten from Nintendo in a while. Like, because I kind of knew Star Fox Zero was going to be bad. I didn't think Triforce Heroes was going to be bad.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would go as far as saying I felt it was bad, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, I'd compare it to being like a new Super Mario Brothers version of a Zelda game. So it felt very straightforward, kind of like watered down. It was nowhere even close to being like what Four Swords Adventures was. So I really want Four Swords Adventures to make a kind of return. Obviously, you wouldn't have the second screen thing, but I don't know if that's 100% necessary. So, I just want a new top-down Zelda game that is like, multiplayer focused. Because I think top-down Zelda games, usually I'm not somebody who loves like, oh, I love 2D Mario games. Oh, I love 2D Metroid games. That's an argument you and me could have at some point in a future discussion.
May even be this discussion. Who knows?
But with Zelda, top-down Zelda games, I think, are something that has absolutely aged very well. And unfortunately, we don't get enough of them. So I'd love to see a new top-down Zelda game, multiplayer focused.
Cool.
Yep. Your turn, Mike.
All right. This is going to be very simple. Luigi's Mansion 3. I want to see a sequel to Luigi's Mansion.
Developed by who?
To be honest, I don't care, man. I liked both. I don't care who develops it. I just want a new Luigi's Mansion. And I just think it'd be perfect on the Switch. So, plain and simple, Luigi's Mansion on the Switch. With HD Rumble, where you could feel the ghost in your controller. Please.
You'd feel the poltergeist, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree with that, and then I also don't agree. I feel like Nintendo's the type of developer who generally doesn't hand off a license to another team after a team has worked on it. So I almost fear that Next Level Games is going to basically be the new home to a new Luigi's Mansion game, should it ever exist. And to be completely blunt, I thought they did a pretty bad job on Dark Moon. I don't think Next Level Games understands what it is to develop a Nintendo world or Nintendo characters. They don't click. They don't really get it. So when you look at those ghost designs in Dark Moon, they're so bad. They are so bad. And it's a game about ghosts. So if the ghosts aren't good, you're in trouble. So I if you were talking like, hey, let's get a sequel to the original Luigi's Mansion on the Switch, oh my God, yes. But like something that follows in the footsteps of Dark Moon.
See, I really enjoyed Dark Moon, but I also totally understand why you didn't like the generic ghost designs. And
the generic mansion designs.
Yeah, but I also kind of liked the mini mansions. I think I would rather go back to one giant mansion. But I don't know. I wouldn't mind. I just really like the gameplay of Luigi's Mansion. It feels very unlike anything else that's really on the market, and I want to see it. I want to see a new Luigi's Mansion game.
I would be cautiously optimistic. Cool. Yeah. I mean, you know how much I love Halloween.
I know.
So
I know.
I'd be rooting for it. But yeah. Okay. If you had to pick, it's like, okay, Roger, we're about to make a new Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
Who's going to develop it?
I'd probably still say Next Level, but I would tell them
my God.
No, but listen, I would tell them to go back and look at Luigi's Mansion, the first one, and realize that was made for consoles. The one they made was for a handheld specifically. The Switch is a hybrid system. Find a way to make it work. Implement the best bits of the console with the good parts of the handheld version. So
you had a chance to say.
I know, but I don't know. I understand kind of why you don't like Next Level.
No, I'm just kidding with
stuff.
you. I'm just joking. But yeah, I mean, anything Halloween related, I'm down for.
I think Next Level just triggers you as a company because like they made Punch-Out, and I know like you do not have good memories of your life.
But here's the thing,
when
though.
Punch-Out came out. So
I think Punch-Out was their best game.
Well,
like, I think they got it. Like, when you look at those character models, I think, oh, man, they did it. This is exactly what you would want these characters to look like. It was the sounds and everything. Yeah. So Punch-Out, I would say, on the Wii is their best game.
I actually wouldn't argue with that, but I also think you have a little mini vendetta.
Oh, well, yeah, I do have horrible memories from that.
Yeah.
However, I do think with Luigi's Mansion, they just didn't prove to me that they're capable of it.
That's
and
fair.
It's, I mean, Luigi's Mansion is like my friggin' child. I hold that thing to like religious value because it's Nintendo and Halloween.
You got to pray to Luigi. Pray to
Luigi.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens with that. I'm going to move on and say I'm going to harass Jason Vandenberg on Twitter about this. I want Red Steel 3. He's the creative director on Red Steel 2. I want a new Red Steel game. Now, the first one, I know people are like, oh boy, but the sequel was like a whole new ball game. It was a whole new game. I have never felt so much satisfaction from playing a video game as I have with Red Steel 2. That game is so damn well programmed, and the controls work so good. The art style is really cool. The music is cool. Everything about that game is so cool. I want a sequel to the sequel. I'm
in total agreement with you. It's not on my list, but if I could put it on, I'd put it at like number 16. I love Red Steel 2. I think that game is very underrated. I don't think people give it enough credit.
And I was always worried. I always felt like, oh, we're never going to get a sequel to that because controllers, are going to change, and we just might not have controllers that are capable of really detailed motion control. But on the Switch, you take the Joy-Cons off, and bada bing, bada boom, you could probably do like dual wielding swords on a Red Steel 3 for the Switch.
I kind of don't want them to do that until Nintendo releases their VR helmet for the Switch. Then I kind of want them to make it.
Then we can get Red Steel 3 VR.
That and Metroid Prime would be great in VR.
But at some point in my life, on the Switch preferably, I really want Red Steel 3.
Cool. All right. My choice is definitely not on your list. 100%. Guarantee this is not on your list. This is a weird eShop title that I loved on Wii. So I guess it was technically a WiiWare game. I just talked about this on a podcast with Nintendon. And we both talked about how much we love this game and how goofy and quirky it is. Namco is, of course, very close to Nintendo. They own the rights to this franchise. They could easily make another one. The first one was extraordinarily low budget, so I'm sure they could make another really low budget one for the Switch. Give me Muscle March 2, man. Muscle March is one of those games very similar to GoldenEye 007 that I would play religiously with my roommates, and like when I had parties at my apartment, I would like bring people over and be like, "Oh, let's play Muscle March." I almost said Red Steel, but no, we'd play Muscle March with the weird like poses, and then we'd hold up the Wii remotes. I love Muscle March. I want to see another Muscle March. I don't think it's ever gonna happen, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up.
I want you to cosplay as one of the Muscle March guys to C2E2.
I'll dress up as the polar bear in the little pink underwear. There you go.
I've never played that game, but I
you
wish
would
that
love that game. You would love that game.
Yeah, it seems. What are you implying? There's a bunch of half-naked men.
No. You'd love it because of how weird it is.
Yeah.
It's not like it's gay or anything, Josh. Whatever.
Listen,
there's nothing wrong with that.
It's the straightest game
man.
possible. It's perfectly normal. Yeah, why not? That's a crazy game. You would obviously mean that it's like an eShop game.
Sure.
Yeah. I think there's going to probably be more people that agree with you on that one than you might think.
I hope so.
Okay. Do you have any other eShop games on yours?
That's the last one. That's the last one. Yeah.
Okay. This one's maybe a little bit of a boring. I've got a few left that are interesting, a few left that are boring, I think. I'm going to go with one of the boring ones, so brace yourself. Wave Race. We need a new Wave Race, for God's sakes.
Shut up.
Just, what?
That's literally the next one on my list.
No, but Wave Race is, oh God, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, again, it's unique. I mean, how many friggin' Wave Race style games do you see these days? Zero. I think there is one by an indie developer, so I'm just going to point that out so people don't comment about it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's been so long, and just imagine how gorgeous the wave effect would look, and the controls would be nice and tight. You could even hold if you wanted to play, obviously there'd be traditional controls, but if you wanted to play with the motion controls, you could even take apart the Joy-Cons and maybe hold them like they are the bar on a jet ski power cruiser thing. So I think that's how you played it in Wii Sports Resort, in fact.
That is, and that's actually the reason that there's not another Wave Race game, because NST actually pitched a Wave Race game, and he was like, why? We have Wave Race in Wii Sports Resort. We don't need a full standalone game.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Miyamoto was not able to see the difference between the two. One of them is a full-fledged game, the other one is a minigame. But yeah, I just Wave Race. I mean, I'm sexually aroused by the ocean, as many of you know. So anything related to the ocean, I want. So new Wave Race. And also there was that, I think we've talked about this in a discussion before, but I'm also aroused of the girl in the like white and pink, like
Serena, right?
Suit?
Serena. I think it's her name.
Is her name Serena?
I'm going to look at
her name. I remember you mocked
now.
me because I remember you mocked me. You're like, how could you possibly find her sexy? She's a Nintendo 64 model and she's like she's like fully clothed. And I was like, you know what?
Is she the tan one or the Japanese one?
She's wearing the pinks and white suit.
There's two. Hold on, wait. I'm gonna look this up.
I'm talking the N64 game. By the way.
Oh.
Not blue.
Oh
Storm.
yeah, you're thinking of what's her name?
She's blonde. She has like a blonde ponytail.
Blonde?
I think, out of her helmet.
That's not what I remember. I thought the pink one was Akari Hayami. But I don't
think so. No,
I guess not. No, the one I'm thinking of, man,
Asian
Serena Del Mar
yellow.
from Wave Race Blue Storm. You guys know who I'm talking about. Woo, my boy. Please.
See, too many polygons for me. I like those low polygon women.
Okay, well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could cut yourself on them when you're.
That's right.
Getting, you know.
Old Lara Croft, man. PlayStation era Lara Croft.
So is Wave Race one of your picks?
Yeah, it was literally the next one on my list, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I love everything about it. I actually just played Blue Storm over the holiday break when I was home for Christmas. I was playing a lot of it because my GameCube was the only system that was actually there other than my 3DS. And so I was just like, I'll play some old GameCube games that I played many hours of Blue Storm in the past month. So would love a new one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Blue Storm too.
Yeah.
It's, they're both great games. So Jesus, make another one.
Yeah, please.
You've got virtually no competition. Oh, we got to compete with all those other power cruiser racing ocean games.
Hydro Thunder, yeah.
All right. Well, do you want to use that as your pick, or do you want to go?
Oh,
again,
yeah. That was my next pick. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'll just go again real quick. You probably, I would say you might have this one on your list too. WarioWare.
Okay, it's not on my list, but I would like another one.
Okay. Well, so yeah, I mean, the Switch is like a Swiss Army knife of crazy types of motion or control, I should say. So between the HD Rumble, the camera, the motion controls, good lord, this is like, it's like Wario himself made this Switch controller just so that he could make an actual WarioWare game. And that's right, I said an actual WarioWare game because we all know that Game & Wario was not an actual WarioWare game. And it's been way too long since I've gotten my crazy, Japanesey Wario type fix. So I need it. Bad.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, yeah. I like
They've got to be working on it. That team does not. That team, I think, doesn't make a ton of games, do they? Isn't it like WarioWare and a couple other things?
I got to be honest though. I feel like WarioWare is one of those franchises. You're gonna kill me for saying this, but
it's better on mobile.
I don't think better, but I think they could do really cool things with it, and I wouldn't mind if it became a mobile franchise primarily.
I mean, I can see it being fun on mobile, but like I said, I think the Switch controller just has so much fun.
Sure, with the HD Rumble and stuff, it'd be cool. I feel like the same way, though, with another one of the series that they develop, which is Rhythm Heaven. I love the Rhythm Heaven games.
Right, I tweeted about that today, yeah.
But I think that would be great on phones. I never need it on Switch.
Rhythm Heaven?
Yeah.
Or WarioWare?
Both.
Well, the thing is, like, I mean, they could do like WarioWare Mobile and WarioWare Switch and like launch them at the same time and use the mobile app thing to promote the actual Switch game.
Maybe.
Because in a way, I mean, that's what they did with Pokemon in a way. That's what they do with Fire Emblem now. And so I think, and Animal Crossing is going to have obviously a Switch game and then it's going to be on mobile. So I think, I don't think it necessarily has to be just like mobile or Switch. I would agree, though, that I think Rhythm Heaven probably would be better to just have mobile. You just have your headphones in, it's touchscreen, it's a very simple game. That's probably where that belongs. But all the craziness between the Switch controller makes me really want to see what Wario could do with that.
Well, my next choice, you are definitely going to agree with. And I actually think they really screwed up by not making one of these on Wii U. I feel like Wii U was the perfect system to make this game on, and they didn't do it. But I don't care. I still want a sequel.
I think I know what you're
Pokemon Snap 2. And
okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, here's the thing, is we know there's going to be a mainline Pokemon game coming to the system. So I'm not even going to bother wasting a slot on this list for that. But we don't know if we're going to get those Pokemon spin-off games. And my personal favorite Pokemon spin-off game, and many others agree with me on this, is Pokemon Snap. I recently played that at a party that Strawberry 17 threw at her apartment. She had like a Pokemon party. And we were just standing at her Wii U kiosk playing Pokemon Snap. And it was so much fun playing the game on Virtual Console and reliving some of the weird, quirky aspects of that title. I think a modern-day sequel, especially with all the new Pokemon that are like in the universe now. That game was made when there were only 151 Pokemon. Like that game with now 7 generations of Pokemon to work with, and the legendaries, and going into space and taking pictures of Deoxys and Arceus, and going on the beaches and seeing Poplio do water shows. There's so many cool things they could do with a new Pokemon Snap game. It's also technically an arcade shooter, and that's something that I don't really think we have a lot of nowadays. And I was going between Pokemon Snap and Sin and Punishment to put on this list, but I think I would rather have a new Pokemon Snap because we recently had Sin and Punishment on Wii, and it's been a very long time since Pokemon Snap, so that's my choice.
And one of those would obviously sell a little bit better.
I think Pokemon Snap would do significantly better.
Pokemon's a little bit more well-known. So this is on my list, by the way.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think the Wii U would have been more suitable for it because, you can have the screen controller like it was a camera.
Yeah.
But you'd still have like the motion controls or standard controls and stuff on the Switch. And, I think one of the things that is also really cool about a modern Pokemon Snap game is the animations on the N64 are not the greatest. So I think in a modern Switch version of Pokemon Snap, like a sequel, you'd be able to have a lot more fun with the animations and what the Pokemon are doing, which of course would then mean you could have a lot more variety in the pictures that you're taking. So yeah, and then a modern Pokemon Snap, you could probably save that to some sort of SD card or something, or just share it on social media directly from the game. So it'd be much easier to get your cool Pokemon pictures out on social media than it was in 1997 or 98 or 2000, whenever it came out.
And I also feel like this is the time to do it if they were ever going to do it, because I feel like Nintendo, for the first time in a long time, seems to be listening to what the fans that are our age really want. Like, the people our age, sure, some of us grew up with, like, Super Nintendo, but I think we were very young when Super Nintendo came out. Like, N64, I think, was, like, the primary system of my childhood.
That was like my childhood mostly,
yeah. And I feel like, we have a Mario game that's like Mario 64 now. We're getting the open world Zelda everybody's always asked for. I think this is the time to do a Pokemon Snap sequel. And especially like you just mentioned, like the ties to social media. We already know there's a capture button on the thing, and then you could share your screenshots. Like, that's perfect. That's perfect. You could like tweet out your pictures and memes that you made in Pokemon Snap. Like, now is the best time to do it. If not now, when,
I am not as like close to the Pokemon fan base as you, so I might be ignorant when I say this, but I feel like it's a very beloved game that many people have asked for a sequel, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Pokemon Snap? Dude, like hardcore Pokemon fans still want to see a Pokemon Snap sequel. It's just it's one of the spin-offs that people want another stadium too. People really like the Pokemon Stadium minigames, and people want another stadium too. But those two games in particular, I think, are the spin-offs that people really want to see again. And we know there's going to be a mainline Pokemon game, and we'll probably get another, Poke Park or whatever, or a Mystery Dungeon, and that's fine. Those games are okay. But Snap is what we really want.
See, that's what confuses me though. Like they will make these there's a lot of Pokemon spin-off games these days, but like the fact that they never say, "Hey, let's do another Pokemon Snap."
Yeah, and I feel like Pokemon is riding a high right now because it was just the 20th anniversary. Sun and Moon became like the fastest selling Pokemon games of all time or something. They brought back a lot of old fans of Pokemon through Pokemon Go that are now very aware of the brand again. It's just, this is the time to do a Snap sequel. It really is. And I would actually not be shocked if we end up seeing a sequel announcement at E3. Like, that's something I think makes a lot of sense due to like the nostalgia and everything that they're like releasing now in terms of Pokemon. It does make a lot of sense to release a Pokemon Snap sequel now. Even though I feel like the Wii U would have been better for it at the time, I think it makes sense from a business perspective to make a Pokemon Snap sequel now.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I want to see it so bad.
Me too.
Like, I mean, I'm not even a huge Pokemon fan, but I would like jump up screaming from joy if I saw Pokemon Snap 2 in a trailer at the Nintendo
especially
Direct
because
at E3.
if they were going to make one, there would be like a level based on Alola where you go through a tropical island and you're taking pictures of like the Alolan Pokemon. Dude, for sure.
They need to do this.
Yes.
They need to do it. I can't remember whose pick that was.
Mine. That was mine.
Okay. Okay, so Roger, you know me. I'm a big fan of making things great again.
Oh boy.
And I think there's a few Nintendo franchises that need to be made great again, but one that's always been very near and dear to me is Mario Party. And it is time to make Mario Party great again. I want Mario Party to continue on the Switch, of course, but they really, really need to go back to the way things used to be. None of this stupid car thing where we all roll at the same time. None of this stupid, boring grid-based boards like they did with the Star Rush thing. Nobody liked that. Just make Mario Party the way it used to be. And you can be clever and you can add new ideas without completely ripping apart the skeletal structure of what made Mario Party so great. So I really would love so much to see the Mario Party series become great again, with unique boards that have multiple branching pathways and items and orbs to set booby traps, really fun mini games. It's not hard to make a good Mario Party game, but for some reason they fight against it every installation they make.
Yeah.
Like their last revelation was, we need to make sure it goes really fast, so let's just have everybody roll at the same time on the 3DS and we'll make a grid-based board. It's like, I don't think people really say, let's have a quick 10-minute game of Mario Party. We're well aware that you sit down and play for like an hour.
Yeah, that's the point
fun
of it. Yeah.
Right. You make a night of it. You get some snacks. You're all hanging out in the living room on the couch and stuff, and you're making fun of each other. That's the idea of Mario Party. Nobody's like, we got to play Mario Party in 15 minutes. Let's go. And nobody wants to be in a vehicle together. So I'll reiterate, hashtag make Mario Party great again.
Nice. I will support that. That's probably the only time I will support a hashtag something great again.
You friggin' communist.
Oh, well.
You are the Nintendo communist. All right. Well, that's my pick.
Cool.
What's your
pick? My pick, now we're getting into the obvious ones. I think these are, we're wrapping it up, so we're getting into the obvious ones. Animal Crossing. All right?
I've
waited a long time for an Animal Crossing on a home console. A real Animal Crossing on home consoles. Hasn't happened since the Wii era. Animal Crossing is easily one of my favorite franchises from Nintendo. I'd say top 3. I'd say Animal Crossing, Pokemon, and Smash Brothers are my top 3, and will probably forever be my top 3. We need another Animal Crossing game. I would love one where you could like live in a skyscraper or like go to an actual city. I always thought like city folk kind of cheaped out on that. Like I always thought we're going to the city, like a city Animal Crossing game, that you'd be able to like, build statues and have a downtown and build extra new shops. Like I want them to expand on that side of things. I think living in a skyscraper in Animal Crossing and building these cool things, that's what I want. I really want like a new Animal Crossing game with something where you could like live in a skyscraper.
So we are in exact opposite opinions on
what?
that.
You don't want a new Animal Crossing?
I want the opposite of a modern city.
Oh.
I don't like when Mario did it, and I wouldn't like when Animal Crossing, because it's called Animal Forest in Japan.
Right.
So it'd be
Double
weird.
money.
But no, I agree with you that we need an Animal Crossing game on a home console. My God. A freaking New Leaf is from 2012, 2013.
And I still play that game almost every day. I really do. So
I've played that game a bit as well, and so I'm ready to move on. Really didn't like the Wii U version of Animal Crossing that much. But yeah, I want this game to actually appear at E3. I will be very surprised if we don't see or hear from it at E3 this year. That'll be strange.
Yeah, I think too, they have that whole amiibo set now. They just had the new amiibos they just released for New Leaf. I feel like those are obviously going to be backwards compatible when it comes to like future titles.
The cards,
yeah, the cards, and like even the amiibo. You still see there's like tons of them left over at Target because nobody bought Amiibo Festival. So I think they're going to want to get those off the store shelves. And I think the best way to do that would be to release a real Animal Crossing game that utilizes the amiibo in some fun way.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's funny because there's always this difference of opinion amongst the Animal Crossing fan base of what's better, a handheld or a home console version. It doesn't matter anymore because the Switch was built. It's built for Animal Crossing. My God,
it'd be both. I want an apocalyptic Animal Crossing. I don't know if you saw the tweet I put out.
I did see this.
So I was playing Yoshi and Poochie, and I was playing Animal Crossing New Leaf, and I was playing Advance Wars Days of Ruin in the airport before I flew back to LA, and I accidentally tweeted out Animal Crossing Days of Ruin instead of Advance Wars Days of Ruin, and like a lot of people called me out. And I deleted the tweet and I updated it. But then as I was sitting there in the terminal, I was there really early. I was like, I'm going to just make a fake box art for Animal Crossing Days of Ruin. And I was like, okay, what if Ribot takes over and creates like a robot army and destroys the town, and you have to like rebuild the town from scratch after, the onslaught of nuclear war, and you have to like plant plants again, and you have to wear a gas mask walking around town. And you meet these like sick villagers that you have to cure with the medication from like Nook's hospital. It'd be such a weird, bizarre take on the franchise.
Your Animal Crossing idea is terrifying.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
So yeah, I mean, that was on my list, obviously. Cool. Animal Crossing, needs to happen.
Cool.
And I'll be shocked if we don't see it this year, because they made it was such a huge success, and there was so much momentum for New Leaf. Like, New Leaf is the most successful Animal Crossing game, so it'd be really weird if they keep dragging their butt and not get on this and not work on it. It seems like something they should have been working on for a while now, but we'll see.
Yep,
we shall see. My final pick is a Paper Mario game that doesn't suck. Give us an actual Paper Mario game. I thought Sticker Star was just okay as a handheld Paper Mario. I didn't really judge it as part of the series. I thought Super Paper Mario was pretty terrible, and I thought Color Splash was pretty terrible as well. I liked Color Splash's visuals and the music and the sense of humor, but I thought the gameplay was crappy, and so I love the original Paper Mario. I love the Thousand Year Door. I really want a Paper Mario game to be good again. So Paper Mario on the Switch, I feel like they have to actually listen to some of the fan feedback.
Yeah, I'm fine with never having another Paper Mario game ever again.
Oh my god.
I'm fine with never having another Paper Mario. I'm fine with never having another Mario and Luigi. I'm fine with never having another Mario sports game. I don't care.
I
want to see Mario Party be great again. That's something I would love Mario Party to come back and be great again. But I think Mario Party, Mario Kart, and then the real 3D Mario games. I'm just triggering people all over the place today. I think that's all we need from Mario. I don't need any other.
Well, here's my question, though. I can't remember, which is crazy because I did many discussions with you about it. What did you think of Color Splash?
I loved the visuals, and I loved the music, and I didn't think it was as bad as you thought it was, but I certainly did not like the battle system. I thought it was absolute garbage.
Okay.
But it was not the disappointment that Star Fox Zero was for me. So...
Well, few games are.
Few games will ever reach that point, yeah.
Yeah.
So you said that was your last game? Because I have two left.
That was my number 15, yeah.
I guess, because we doubled up on like a bunch of these. All right, so my last two, I'll just go in order. One, number 14, again, not the really obvious one. Of course I want to see this. Metroid. And I think Metroid's very likely to happen. I don't know when, but I think it is coming. I don't really care who develops it, so long as it's not Team Ninja. And hopefully not Next Level, I'm sorry. I want, like, one of the main Metroid teams to develop it. And I know you disagree with me here. I personally do not care if... This is the only franchise I will say this for. The only one. I do not care if we get another 2D iteration. Because I love Super Metroid. I really like that game. I love the exploration. I love having the side-scrolling map and like looking for little like context clues on the map for like where to bomb a certain area. And I like that grid-based side-scrolling Metroid. I think it's a lot of fun. And I don't really want like a fluid 2D Metroid. I want one that has the grid mechanic of the old Metroid games. That would be really cool to see in HD with some really like high fidelity visuals. I think it'd be really cool on the Switch. I think it would work as a handheld game, and I think it would look beautiful on a TV in HD. I think a 2D Metroid would be great, but of course, I would also love a new Metroid Prime game. The reason I kind of want to see a 2D Metroid first, though, is I think they need to get back to what made that series good. I don't think we've had a good classic Metroid game in a while, and I think Retro knows how to make Metroid Prime games. I'm not concerned. I think they'll be able to jump back into Metroid Prime whenever. But I don't really think 2D Metroid has a future unless they really focus on it, so I'd really like to see a new 2D Metroid game, hopefully from Retro Studios, and then I want to see them later on make a VR Metroid game. I want that to be Metroid Prime for whatever the VR for Switch is going to be. But I'm just going to say Metroid outright is my number 14. And my number 15 is actually something I added last minute. This was going to be a mainline Pokemon game, even though we already know that's coming, based on every rumor. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to say Smash Brothers. But again, we already pretty much know that's coming, so I didn't want to waste this slot on that. So my number 15 choice is very strange. You definitely are not expecting this. No way in heck. Because you said just name anything that you would really like, and I think this is very... Just brace yourselves. All right. I want... an Infamous, I don't know if you ever played Infamous on PlayStation. It's a superhero sandbox adventure game. It's great. I want an Infamous-like superhero sandbox action game on the Switch. I don't care who develops it. Any team at Nintendo I think would be able to do a good job. I want it to take place in a modern city. Something like Chicago I think would be really cool for this. Or Los Angeles or something. I want them to use some type of real life city as a base. And I want it to, this is going to be where you're like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? I want it to be based on the Fluidity franchise. And you're probably like, what? Right now? Like, are you being serious? I am being serious. I think it'd be really cool to have a superhero, like a character, not like H2O, like the joke video we made a long time ago for Smash Bros., but a real, like a superhero with the ability to turn into water, control water, freeze things, and also like be able to heat himself up and become a cloud and like float around and fly. I think that's such a cool gameplay mechanic. I really like that with Fluidity, and I think there's a lot of things they could do infusing the Fluidity franchise into something that's like a character-driven superhero title. And so, yeah, that's something I've really wanted for a long time. I've never even been open about that or talked about that in a video. I don't think we've even discussed this ever before. But it's something I've literally daydreamed about. Like, and I just like, I can imagine the music being like really jazzy, but having like a, I don't know. I like my trailer for this game in my head is the main character being like a secret agent, and he's like driving down Lakeshore Drive, and then you have Feeling Good from Michael Bublé playing, and then his boss comes on and he's like, yo, there's been an explosion at like the Sears Tower, you have to go over there. And then he's like, I'm on it, and he just like stops the car, heats up into like, you know, a cloud or something, floats out the window, freezes himself onto the building, floods the building, and then like stops an explosion. I don't know, man. I'm freaking out. I know. I've thought about this. I know I sound weird right now talking about this.
How specific?
It's very specific. It's something I want. I want a superhero action sandbox game with the gameplay stylings of Fluidity, where you could sort of control water and either evaporate or freeze. And I want it to be on the Nintendo Switch, and I want it to be developed by a first party of Nintendo's.
Okay. Very specific desire for a Switch game.
I know.
All right, I can dig it. So that is a gigantic discussion.
That was huge.
About our. it was
huge.
A bigly discussion.
Bigly.
And Roger,
yes.
I want to thank you for joining me on
Anytime.
that. If all these games came true, we'd be living in the perfect world with the
Okay,
Switch.
here.
I think a good portion.
I was just
going to
say, let's say, guess right now, and we'll come back to this in 5 years or 6. Hopefully not 5 years. I don't want the Switch to die in 5 years.
Okay, let's say
10 years.
Pick 5 of the games that you think will absolutely
come true of this list. Okay, I think for sure we're gonna get Animal Crossing. Done deal. Yep. Absolutely. I feel pretty confident that we're gonna get another Kid Icarus. I feel like really confident about that. I think we're gonna get that. I do think we're gonna get a Metroid. I think your Mario Party is really likely. Well, in fact, we'll definitely get a Mario Party. And I also think you're right about Paper Mario. I think we'll probably get a Paper Mario too. Those are the 5 I think we'll definitely get.
Okay. I'm going to say ones that we will definitely get is we will definitely get... Looking at my list, and I don't think there are many that we'll definitely get.
We'll definitely get... we'll get a Professor Layton too. That's another one that's pretty much a done deal.
Okay. Yeah, I think Mario Party will actually return to the way that it used to be on the Switch. They'll do something that's really kind of playing with the whole, hey, we're bringing it back to the way that it used to be sort of thing. Animal Crossing, yeah, I think that's definitely happening. I think Paper Mario will come back in a few years. I think it will be not exactly like Thousand Year Door, the original, but I think it'll have elements from that, like Partners will be back.
How long have we been saying that? We say that every time. Oh, Partners will be back. Paper Mario, and then we got the weird geometric things. We saw the first demo of the 3DS one. Partners are going to be back. We saw the little Chain Chomp partner. Completely got nixed from the game. Oh, Color Splash looks amazing. This looks pretty good. Are there partners? Let's wait and find out. There weren't partners. So, I don't know, man. I'm not holding my breath.
There's only so many times they can disappoint us.
True.
They're due to not disappoint us with this series.
True.
I actually think a Wave Race game is a possibility. I think that's one of those old Nintendo franchises that has a good chance of making a return.
Yeah.
I think WarioWare is another one that we might see. We're definitely going to see something from that WarioWare team on Switch, and I think it'll probably be WarioWare since it has been so long since a previous WarioWare game. I mean, we didn't even get one on the 3DS.
That's right, we didn't. That's right.
So we're overdue for WarioWare, and I could probably see something with like a Switch Sports sort of a deal.
Yeah, actually, the more I think about it too, I really think Pokemon Snap 2, like now's the time for it. I think that's actually really likely because of the nostalgia factor and like the people who are into Pokemon now. I think they're aware of like the audience they brought back with Pokemon Go, And I think if they were ever going to make another one, and I still think it's highly unlikely, like now would be the time to do it, like within the next year, 2 years.
Was 2016 or 2017 the 20th anniversary?
Last year, yeah. Yeah, so that was like Pokemon Go, Pokemon Sun and Moon. They even just recently released like that Pokemon Duel one or something for mobile phones with like the little figures. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think there definitely are some things on these lists that are pretty much shooting.
Yeah. I don't think we're getting a Trauma Team or a Muscle March, but a man could dream. Or a Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Listen, you never know. There's oftentimes things that come complete. I mean, there were people that thought we would never get a big open world 3D Mario game again, and here we are.
Yep.
Here we are. Roger, thank you so much for joining me for this romantic discussion of 15 games we want to see on this.
You're a couple days late. A couple days late for that. Valentine's Day was a while ago.
Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you on the internet?
You guys already know. Rogersbase on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram.
And in early July, you can see Roger at Florida theme parks.
With you. Yep.
And you're going to C2E2,
and
right?
C2E2. And potentially you are
April?
coming to E3 too, so potentially.
It's a potential.
That's three
thing.
things.
Roger's
We're going to be seeing a lot of each other in the first half of this year.
Are you going to be cosplaying at C2E2?
I'm not going to reveal that yet.
Okay, I'm going to have to make you, though, because I'm going to be wearing a latex suit, so I don't want to be the only one walking around in this, like,
I may or may not
suit.
be wearing my Senior Pink outfit again, so we'll see.
Okay, sounds good. So that's what we'll be doing. Thank you guys very much. Be sure to leave a comment below and let us know what games you want to see for the Nintendo Switch. Until next time, arrivederci.
Bye-bye.